Bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum bum. Good morning, everybody. As we start the chitas of the day, today is Thursday, which is the fifth part of the Chumash Chamishi, which is in the portion of Shlach. We're holding in the book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse number 8. Torah is talking about when you come into the land of Israel and the sacrifices that you're going to bring. If you prepare a bull for a burnt offering, a zevach, or a sacrifice for by expressing a vow, or you're going to bring a peace offering to God. Verse number 9, and therefore every time you bring a sacrifice, you have to bring a meal offering. Torah is going through each and every offering, how much you're obligated to bring in the meal offering. So it's to be 3/10 of an ephah, uh, mixed with fine flour, mix a half a hin of oil. Verse number 10, v'yayin takriv, and when you bring wine, lenesach to you have to bring also a libation. Chati a hin, it needs to be a half a hin of wine for the libation. This is a pleasing offering to God. So Rashi, this refers to the meal offering and the oil, but the wine is not put on the fire. The wine is poured on the mizbeach. It's put on the side of the mizbeach, but not on the fire itself. Verse 11, this is what you should do for one ox, or for one sheep, or for a goat. So Rashi says, whether the sheep, lamb, or goat, keves, the names given to sheep and goats within their year. Ayil, a ram, is past 13 months and 1 day. Verse number 12, according to the number you offer, you shall present each one according to their numbers. Not in accordance with the number of animals you offer a sacrifice, you shall present libation each one. Bring two a sacrifice, needs two libations, five libations, and 5 meal offerings. Everything is according to the amount that goes according to the amount of animals that you give. Verse number 13. Every native born shall do this manner. Hashem, to bring a fire offering to God. Reach nechayach is a pleasing offering to God. Verse number 14. Proselyte will live amongst you. Or in the future generations. Hashem, he also brings up an offering to God. Kashetasu, just like you do, Kenyase, so he does. Hakol, this applies to every Jew. Chuka achat, it's one law. Lachem, to you, lager agor, and to those who become gedim. Chukatz olam de this is a law forever. Tachem kageh yilefnei Hashem. To you and to a convert before God. Now she said, like you, like a prophet, just as you, so too a prophet. This is the style of Hebrew language, like a garden of the Lord is the land of Egypt. Meaning, so that the land of Egypt, like the garden of the Lord. So the Torah wants to tell us that a ger, even though a ger becomes, that's why the Gemara says a ger, a convert, is always a convert. He's not a convert anymore. The second he converted, he becomes a Yid. Why do we call him a convert? Because he was always a convert. Even while he was born, before he became Jewish, he's still a convert. He was a convert. He was, the Eibishter God gave him a soul. According to Chassidut, God gave him a soul that he would always be a convert. So a goy cannot become a yid. A convert becomes a yid, and that's why a gate is like a regular yid. It just was revealed in later stages of his life. There's one law in orders to you and to the ger, the convert who resides with you. He is like you. Actually, it's brought down that it says if you liking a convert, you get two mitzvahs. You like a Jew, you get one mitzvah. It says you should love another Jew, but it says another mitzvah you should love a ger. So when you like a ger, then you like him as a Jew and as a ger. So you get two mitzvahs by having avas a ger. Obviously, you loving a ger, you get a double header. That completes the chumash of the day. We're going now to the Tanya of the day. And we're holding the 7th chapter, Shayichud Ve'emunah, the portal of oneness, unity, and faith. And the Alter Rebbe, now, he continues in this concept. And to tell us that what he's trying to explain to us, which I mentioned before many times, he's trying to explain to us that this concept, what I'm explaining to you, is not just an aspect of what's the difference in Jewish faith, because there were great Jewish scholars who made the same mistake. And they basically interpreted the teachings of the Arizal wrong, Alter Rebbe said. And they took it wrong. And these are great scholars in the Jewish nation. So we're not talking about just people, other philosophies who made a mistake. We're talking about Jews who made a mistake. That's what Alter Rebbe says. V'mekan, in light of what I mentioned above, yesh lahav v'shigas masech hachamim, we can understand the error of certain scholars in their own eyes. May God forgive them, Hashem yichape ba'adam, because they missed the point of the Arizal. For even those who erred unwittingly are in need of atonement. So God will forgive them. They erred and misinterpreted in their study of the writing of the Arizal. They vinu, because the Arizal was the one who brought out the concept of these concepts of Tzimtzum, the aspect of Esesphiris. All these aspects that we learn in Kabbalah are based on the Arizal, on the teaching of the Arizal. So he was the first one to express the aspect, to explain the concept. He took from the Torah and from the Zohar, but he explained it in these kind of words that the Eibishter did a tzimtzum, did a contraction. So they took it, like it says over here, tzimtzum kipshutai. They took the Arizal to mean it literally. So in the explanation, right, in the writings of the Arizal, it states that in the beginning, before creation, the infinite light filled all space, and there was no room for creation of the finite world. For so much that as the worlds are all by definition infinite, where divine light is infinite, so there's no room for the finite. There's no room within the infinite for finitude. How then did the finite world come into being? It's in a black hole. The Arizal explained this through the doctrine of Tzimtzum. The Ein Sof departed, so to say, Tzimtzum, meaning it ceased to reveal. So that infinity no longer is in a state of revelation. And all that remains revealed was a power of finitude. This power does allow the creation of the world. That's what Arizal said. The Arizal was the first one that came up with this black hole. The Eibishter took Pashut and created darkness. It was light, and then the Eibishter made a hole, made a so to say a challah, an emptiness. Scholars in their eyes misunderstood this to this mere concealment to mean literal departure. The Eibishter that's it. It was surrounded, so to say, the Ur Hashem was totally filled the room, and then he took part of the room and took away the Ur Hashem from it. Shash Kodesh Baruch Hu Silek Atzmei. That they made a mistake. That the Holy One, blessed be He, removed himself and his essence, God forbid, from this world. Meaning he literally moved his presence rather than merely concealing it. They felt no, that the Abish didn't hide, the Abish didn't push him right away. That was their philosophy. That was their understanding. No, that was their understanding in the teachings of the Arizals and their understanding in the Arizal. These were great scholars. Vilna Gaon, that was his philosophy. In Chassidic, Vilna Gaon was also a philosopher, was a Chassidic, was also taught Chassidut, so to say, Kabbalah. So that was his teaching, and that was the big argument, the essence of the argument between the Vilna Gaon and the Alter Rebbe. So what is the Abish doing? The Abish is separating. They understood in the Arizal that Arizal meant that the Abish should separate himself from the world. To be able, there should be a will. He separated himself. The Abish looks from above. He's like looking for an outsider, and he's looking with the binoculars. Hashgacha pratis. He's looking even divine by individual providence. He's looking at everybody. That's what that was their understanding in the teaching of the Arizal. The Chazal told him David should separate himself from the world. They thus envisioned God as a king who sits in his palace. Although his days extend beyond its confines, the king himself is not to be found there. That's it. David is not in the world. Once David, he got to go up to heaven. The same way, so they said, would say, God gazed from above on all created beings, which are found in heaven for and the Alter Rebbe always put a heaven for a friend outside his palace. So the Shamayim Shamayim LaShem. We have even why the bad things happen to good people. Oh, the Eibishter doesn't have control over evil. He let it. He made evil, and now evil has its own identity and its own power. Ultimately, the goyim even went a step further and said, the mazolas have their own power. We have to pray to the mazolas because the Eibishter created. The Eibishter is the God of all gods, but he created a bunch of ministers that have their own powers. Now, apart from the fact,
Rabbi, what's mazolas?
Constellations.
Oh,
they
thanks.
pray to the sun and to the moon. The goyim went a step further, and they said the sun has its own power and the moon has its own power, and we got to pray to the sun, because the God gave the power to the sun, and now we have to pray to the sun. Yeah, sure, there's a God over the sun, but he lets the sun do what he wants. And he lets the moon do what they want. And he wants they made them gods. Not that these great scholars wanted that also. They were against it. That's the Torah says. That's a verse in the Torah. You're not allowed to. But you can understand why they came to that conclusion. The Rambam says that's why they came to that conclusion. They were also smart people. But the more you can bring down God into the world, they wanted to bring it down into physical things. But a Yid doesn't believe God ever left the world. That's what Alter Rebbe says. Even though God is infinite, the world's finite. Still, to the Eibishter is not a tzimtzum. Tzimtzum is only for people, for humanity, not to God. Now, apart from the fact that altogether impossible to apply the doctrine of tzimtzum literally, for that would be an instance of corporal phenomena. To say that God separates himself from the world, then you're saying something that God is like a human being. He has limitations. You cannot say that God is limited, because that alone is a kfira, is an aspect of disbelief in what God is. So you cannot say that. To say that God is not here and he's not in this place, that's like saying you're not in this place. You can be two places at the same time. That's true. No human being can be at two places at the same time. But you can't say that on God, that God cannot be in two places at the same time. Because God is not a human being. And therefore God can be a million places at the same time. In essence, to say tzimtzum k'pshutei, to say that there was a division. That means that God cannot be in two places at the same time. He's in the heavens, he's not in the earth. He cannot be in the earth. That's it. He let it go. That's human, and he cannot do that. The Eibishter is self-understood, far apart from any kind of human concept. Who's set apart from any infinite myriads of separations. There's no comparison between what something that's finite and something that's infinite. You gotta comprehend that to begin with. They cannot put them together. So I explained it in the explanation. One who is subject to characteristics of physical body can be said to undergo actual tzimtzum. I separate myself. I'm not going to go into that place. And to depart, previously he was there, and now he's not. Because that's what it is. I was in this room now, and I'm going to leave. I cannot be in this room and that room at the same time. I'm going to leave this room. So when I leave this room, I'm gone. I'm out of this room. Because I'm a finite individual, so I can say such a thing. But it goes without saying that this cannot be described to God, who is infinitely removed from every phenomenon of corporality. Apart, so it's impossible to explain God like a human being. That's like a human being can separate himself from something. God separate himself from something. It's not possible. As we explained, because when God separates himself from something, the thing is not there. It disappears. Apart from all above, the Alter Rebbe says, in this thing itself, they also do not speak wisely. Because since they are believers, the sons of believers, talking about Jews. We're talking about Talmidei Chacham, we're not talking about the guy in the nations of the world. We're talking about Jews. The Holy One, blessed be, knows all created beings in this lower world and exercises providence over them. Thus, they themselves, God's knowledge and providence extends to the physical world. So they are not like the Goyish philosophers who believes that the sun has control. No, they themselves say the angel should separate himself from the world, but he still has divine providence. God forbid, he still has divine providence. As I said, he's looking at every person individually. Right? Jews, we believe that. Not that we believe like the nations of the world. God's in the heavens someplace, and he has these ministers, celestial bodies who are in control of the world, nature, whatever you want to call it, Mother Nature. Because God is too busy. What do you think? He takes care of hurricanes. What does he care? He created hurricanes. Now go live with it. Now the hurricane is Mother Nature. Even the great sages did not say that. We pray for rain. We pray that God should. Why? Because God, even though they believe that God separated himself from the world, but he's still watching every aspect and he's still in control. So Al-Kashach, so in preface, his knowledge of them does not add plurality or invitation to them, for he knows all by knowing himself. So if God's knowledge of created beings not to come from knowing himself, then it will be correct to say that this knowledge adds plurality and invitation to him. Previously, he did not know them, and now he does. However, this plurality cannot possibly apply to God, because we're believers. So we can't say that God knows something after it's there. Doesn't make sense to say that to God, because they believe themselves that God knows everything. So where does he know everything from? According to their own philosophy, where does he know everything from? He knows everything from after it is there, or he knows everything from himself. He must perforce know them through his knowledge of himself. So why did they come up with this whole philosophy that it's impossible to according to their own explanation, it doesn't make sense. But since God knows everything that's going on according to them, and there's nobody in between God and the world, they also believe that. There's nobody in between God and the world. That's why the Goyim, the nations of the world, came to something in between. Even the great Jewish scholars didn't agree to that concept, Chas v'shalom. They said even though God separates himself, he knows everything, what's happening in the world. And he's involved in everything. So if he knows everything that's happening in the world, so they understand that his knowledge is not the knowledge of a regular person. He knows everything because it's part of himself. So in essence, they themselves don't believe in this concept if they think about it a little bit. Thus is the word, his essence and being and his knowledge are all one. So why do you need to come up to this whole thing? So why would they have to come up? Why would they ever say that Arizal would say that contraction is literally? It doesn't make sense even to their own knowledge. It doesn't make sense, this concept, because they believe. If they believe that God knows everything, so then they have to think for a second. Say, what means that God knows everything? God knows everything because He knows Himself. So therefore, if God knows everything because He knows Himself, therefore, ultimately everything comes from the God. So ultimately, it means that there's no contraction by God. There's no concept of contraction and hiddenness by God. And if they would believe that there is such a thing, then the Chas Shalom can go to the nations of the world and believe, God forbid, that God gave away powers to other entities. No Jew believes that. No Jew believes. So even the great sages who believe that the Arizal meant that there was actually separation don't believe that there was separation, that now other powers have power over the world. They don't believe that. Nobody believes that. They believe that there was separation and God still knows everything what's going on. So if God still knows everything what's going on, then you understand that God knows it from himself. You have to think, just go to the next step. If God, you have to ask the question, how does God know everything what's going on? Because he got Pasha listens to the news. How does God know what's going on in the world? Because he has to Pasha find someone else to tell him. No, because he knows himself. So they'll ultimately have to come to the same conclusion. So why do they have to go around the issue? They ultimately have to come to the same conclusion, like I came. So therefore, my conclusion, Alter Rebbe says itself, that the Arizal did not mean that God separated himself from the world. Because God can't separate himself from the world. It's impossible. If he separated, there won't be a world. The meaning is that God made it to us like he separated himself from the world. He made it to the human being for the capability for the human being to think that God separated himself from the world. God forbid. And that's not true. So it's an allusion to the human. That's what Arizal meant. This is what's written in the Zohar. There's no place devoid of him. Not in the upper worlds, not in the lower worlds. There's no place that can hide itself from God. There's no place that's hidden from God. God fills the world, the upper worlds and the lower worlds. He's there. God's all over. But I remember Pasha Pinchas, and so too it's brought in the Zohar. In I remember the portion of Pinchas, is Bekul level less man comes me. He grasps all, and none can grasp him. He encompasses all with the will. Not enough for the Shuzalaban, and no one goes out from his domain. So he fills everything, and nobody can fill themselves. He fills and permeates all worlds. He binds and unites a kind to a kind upper room. The Eibishter fills everything. The last kurva bedalia Satan. There's no closeness in the four elements of which this corporal world is comprised of. Except through the Holy One, blessed be He, when He is within them. And since He is within them, He brings about peace. That's why, again, we always say, it says, the Eibishter God is this peace. To God, everything is equal. To God, everything is one. We have to bring oneness in ourselves. So that's because my Israel, hear, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one. Not the Abish has to hear that. The God is that. To the Abish is that. To God himself it is that. God is united. There's no separation by God, God forbid. It's we have to hear it. Gave us the capability because of free choice and everything that comes with it, ego and darkness and character flaws and all the everything that we're born with, influences of inside and outside, and now we're supposed to hear the truth. We're sitting in a dungeon and listen to the truth. That's why it's hard for us, but not hard for God, God forbid. The last story, this is the expression of the Zohar. The meaning is simple. The last man, the toughest. No one can grasp. It means there's no one, even amongst all of the supernal intelligence, meaning in the incorporeal creatures of high, spiritual world, within the angels and even malachim and souls, whose apprehension of divinity is superhuman, who can grasp by means of his intellect the essence. Even they cannot grasp the essence of God. Nobody can grasp that because everything, even the super spiritual souls above and the super, they're still a creation of God. God is not a creation. And you have to comprehend the difference between a creation and a creator. That there's no, it's not like, oh, a creator is here and a creation is here. There's no kind of concept. A creator is far above and beyond any creation. There's no real connection and there's no real understanding between these two entities. Which is brought down in the Zohar to try to explain God as the hidden of all hidden from physical creatures. The last machshava tzivka, no thought can grasp you at all. So the point being made here is that God cannot be grasped even by the heavenly thoughts process in the hidden worlds. There is, however, yet another concept in heaven, the word grasp. Grasp. The ability to adhere and thereby affect a change. Thus, in fact, that one cannot grasp God also means that nothing can change in him. You cannot. Nothing can change. If I can grasp in him, then I would be able to create some change. When a person makes something, he will inevitably be grasped by the object of his creation. He will undergo changes in accordance with the particular demands of the object which he's producing. In the case of God, however, his creations of all existence, beings, causes no change in him whatsoever. Because they're all creations and he's a creator. They do not hold him, so to speak, or grasp him. From this point of view, the creation of the lower worlds is even more telling. For the creation required a great degree of tzimtzum and enclosement. Nevertheless, they cause absolutely no change in him. They do not grasp him. And that's what the Alter Rebbe says in these words. So even in the lower worlds, there's none that grasp him. Even though he animates the whole world. The Eibishter fills the world, nobody can grasp him. The only way you can grasp him, as we know in Torah, is only through a mitzvah. So only God can say, "You want to hold me? Put on film today. You want to hug me? Give tzedakah today. You want to grasp me? Learn some Torah today." It's not like the investment of the soul of man, which clothes itself within the body and grasps it in it. Your body like grabs your neshama. Expression of you're forced to live. It means your body forces the neshama to the Eibishter forces the soul in the body. It grasps. But that's because the Abishah created the body and the soul, the body and the soul both have a reality, their own reality. To the extent that it affects and influenced by the changes involving in the body and its pain, such as from blows or colds or heat or fire or the like. So the neshama is grasped by the body in a way, in a certain way, and especially in the lowest levels of the neshama, the nefesh of the neshama is affected by the body. The Holy One, blessed be, however, is not affected by any changes of this world. For summer to winter, for days and nights, it's all the same thing by God. As the verse says, darkness does not hide anything from me, and the night is like day. Oops, sorry. If you say in nitfas because the Abish is not grasped by anything. After that, it says it again. Not only we don't understand God, we cannot grasp God. We cannot understand God. We not cannot grasp God. We can't do nothing. Only if God gives us the tool. That's why a person cannot say, "I'm going to come up with my own mitzvah," because you don't know what God is. You cannot come up with your own mitzvah. You can't come up with your own concept. You can come up with your own religion, but you cannot come up with what God wants. Because God's thought is not your thought. Because the world, because it's not grasped by the world, even though God fills the world, you can't still grasp it, because as God fills the world, He's still in this world like He's above the world. And since God is in the world like He's above the world, how is it possible for any creation to grasp the Creator? Him. Okay, that completes the Tanya of the day. Today is the 23rd day of the month. 23rd day of the month. The Tillim of the day is 108, 109, 110, 111, 112. So 108 to chapter 112. Say those chapters of Tillim, and you'll do your chitas for today. Wish you all a great day, a happy day, a healthy day. Tonight, we conclude the last class, the 6th class of This Can Happen. You can come to the Chabad house at 7:30, or that's it. Or you come, or be on Zoom. You come to the Chabad house or on Zoom, this Zoom number, and catch in the last class of the Jayek Light class about Mashiach. This can happen. I wish you all a great day, a happy day, a healthy day, a wonderful day, a God blessed day. See you all. If not, tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.